top 12 spine-chilling monsters in fantasy movies. Imagination takes us places, and sometimes these places are the deep dark corners of our fears. It is no surprise that horror flicks featuring a menacing monster, creature features, make up quite a popular subgenre. As far as these monsters are concerned, we usually see them in hideous forms doing unthinkable things, ripping apart humans and even cities in some cases. Some are not all that exceptional, except for their strange designs and origins. However, they all have one thing in common. They ignite a curiosity in us that makes us sit through the movies to watch their antics. If you are intrigued as we are and want to see some of the best monsters we have had the pleasure to witness, you've come to the right place.
Nice sword.
Sit back and enjoy as we will bring you an array of strange creatures and monsters that are simply vintage and deserve all of your attention.
Before we go into our list, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click from you, but it means a lot to us. Thank you. Let's begin.
Rathalos Monster Hunter 2020. Monster Hunter is a film set in a strange world where humans and monsters coexist. A trained monster hunter is separated from his group when their ship is attacked by a weird subterranean entity. Back in the real world, Lieutenant Natalie Artemis and her fellow soldiers are somehow trapped in an alternate universe.
How's that possible?
Where the hell are we? How do we get so far from...
They find themselves in a barren desert habitat where deadly monsters are running loose. And to make things worse, their advanced weapons are no good when used against their enemies. Luckily, they have some support in the form of the veteran monster hunter, who has miraculous combat skills. In a thrilling battle for survival, the soldiers must stay one step ahead of the monsters. And some supernatural help is just what the Doctor ordered. Is there an escape from this alternate realm? This movie was based on a video game by Capcom, and while you might complain about the basic plot, the supply of cool monsters and action-packed drama makes things interesting. The game series had a prominent monster called Rathalos, who features in the film as well. Director Paul W.S. Anderson made it clear that the Rathalos is the rock star of the Monster Hunter franchise, and that he would put the creature to good use. In the games, Rathalos is one of the hardest creatures to kill, and in the movies, it's not much different. It's a large bipedal wyvern called the King of the Skies because of its flying capability. It uses its flame sac to shoot fire from its mouth, and the poisonous talons are enough to put an end to their prey. One of the deadliest things about this monster is the surprise attack it uses when it hunts from the skies. Even on the ground, they are deadly opponents, and their powerful legs make them very fast runners. The Rathalos also has a huge club tail that can inflict a lot of damage, and it's fair to say that once in the clutches of this territorial monster, one is doomed. The director uses all of his experience from the Resident Evil franchise here, and if you have loved the games, this film will be thoroughly entertaining. Baba Yaga Hellboy 2019. The movie is based on the popular graphic novels by Mike Mignola, and we see the heroics of the supernatural entity Hellboy. He is the son of a fallen angel and ended up on Earth as a result of some strange ritual. He somehow ended up with the Americans and served them while protecting the world from serious threats. In this film, humankind's unlikely defender is about to meet his match. He embarks on a deadly operation along with his psychic accomplice Alice and Major Ben Damio. The evil sorceress and the eternal Queen of Blood Nimue has some sinister plans for the end of the world. Will Hellboy be able to retain his heroic nature and protect the world one more time? Baba Yaga is a familiar name for those who are interested in fantasy stories and fairy tales. This legendary witch of Russian folklore was said to live inside a chicken leg house, and she counted dead men's fingers.
I don't get it. What's in it for you?
We have always known this witch to be an unpredictable character who might help you or eat you. Hellboy had faced Baba Yaga previously on several occasions. such as when he was investigating the case of missing children in 1963. He defeated Baba Yaga and she held a grudge for a long time. In this movie, Baba Yaga somehow manages to summon Hellboy and transports him to her infamous chicken leg house. We also get some insights into their previous brawls, such as when Hellboy shot her eyes while she was trying to resurrect the ghost of Stalin. Hellboy is desperate for the location of Nimue, and he promises one of his eyes to Baba Yaga if she reveals the whereabouts of Nimue. However, he tricked her without stating any specified time period, and when Baba Yaga finds out, she is furious with him and sends him back to Earth. Baba Yaga's appearance is terrifying, and she's creepy enough to leave you unsettled. Makeup artist Joel Harlow used clay to form the one-eyed visage, which is not to be missed. Yes, Guillermo del Toro's Hellboy flicks were far more entertaining, but this installment is not all that bad either.
You swore!
It might be no classic, but you can always watch it to enjoy some outrageous fantasy violence along with a few laughs. Kronos, Wrath of the Titans, 2012. Perseus and his son Helios live in a self-imposed exile as fishermen in a small village. Perseus was previously a demigod slayer, having taken down monsters like Kraken, but currently he only wishes to enjoy a simple life. Their life is interrupted one day when Zeus visits Perseus and informs him about the growing weakness in the gods.
Without prayer, we gods lose our power. When our power leaves us,
The humans have started defying them and do not pray to them anymore. In such a precarious situation, the evil god of war and the lord of the underworld Hades conspire to overthrow Zeus. They successfully capture Zeus, and Perseus must take up arms one more time to free him and save humanity from the brink of extinction. Kronos, the mighty monster, will emerge from captivity, and it will take the might of a seasoned demigod killer to put things back in order. You ought to take a monster seriously if he's the king of the titans and the destroyer of the universe. Kronos is the main antagonist in this film, and he's actually father to Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon. The physical form of Kronos is a gigantic lump of lava and molten rocks which make up his facial features. You can tell that his insides are made out of molten lava, and it's believed that he has enough power to ruin everything in the universe. Kronos is just about as strong as a villain gets, because even the combined powers of Hades and Zeus might not be enough to defeat him. Previously, the gods defeated this titan and the others with the help of Kraken, but in the current scenario they need fresh plans. Kronos is the epitome of all kinds of evil, and a terrible father too. He even ate his own children to maintain his supreme powers. He also has a cunning mind capable of striking clever deals. He promised Hades and the other gods immortality if they freed him, but we never get to know if this is a genuine promise or simply manipulation. The scenes with Kronos are the ones to watch out for, and the special effects surely do justice to this intimidating villain. If you are someone who likes stories from Greek mythology, and if you have enjoyed Clash of the Titans, you might just want to check this one out.
100 souls. 3 days.
Davy Jones, Pirates of the Caribbean, 2003. The savvy and eccentric pirate Captain Jack Sparrow teams up with a resourceful blacksmith named Will Turner. They are looking for Elizabeth Swan, the daughter of the governor with whom Will is smitten. The trouble is that she has been mistakenly captured by the notorious Captain Barbossa, a former ally of Jack's. Barbossa's pirates are seeking the last piece of Aztec gold, which must all be recovered and returned to end an ancient curse that has afflicted the crew. They will continue to exist for all eternity without actually living or dying. The only way they can get rid of their curse is by offering a bloody sacrifice. Will and Jack steal a ship from the Navy and they arrive at Tortuga, where Jack sets sail with his crew to save Elizabeth. But whose blood is actually required to complete the bloody sacrifice? The twist in this tale will blow your mind. This movie franchise is one of those classics that never gets old, and we never tire of watching Johnny Depp's hilarious performances. Another thing that made this film unforgettable was the supernatural ruler of the seven seas, the condemned captain of the Flying Dutchman Davy Jones. This ruthless captain would leave the bravest of sailors terrified, and there were plenty of myths and legends surrounding him. According to one particular legend, he fell in love with Calypso, the sea goddess, and had the task of ferrying souls who died at sea to the world beyond. However, a tragic twist to his love story caused him to betray Calypso, and he was left heartbroken. He found his grief too much to live with and cut out his heart, locking it in the dead man's chest.
And so, in cab ultima.
Since then, Davy Jones became dangerously fierce and craved violence. The Flying Dutchman became the condemned ghost ship, and he preyed upon lost sailors who chose to serve him to avoid death. His crew kept growing because even the sea monster Kraken brought him souls to join the wretched crew. Eventually, he is punished by Calypso, and he finally dies for his crimes. General Fallon, Jack the Giant Slayer 2013. Jack has grown up hearing captivating tales of giants that used to exist and how a king had a crown to control them.
We're slave to his every command.
Many years later, Jack is sent to the market by his uncle, who wants him to sell their horse to buy thatch for their roof. He runs into a girl being harassed by ruffians and saves her.
Hey, that's no way to treat a lad. Oh.
We learn that the girl is Princess Isabel, and she ran away because her father was determined to marry her off to Roderick, whom she detested. Roderick was only interested in becoming the king, and Isabel did not want to marry under any circumstances. Meanwhile, Jack fails to sell the horse, and a monk in crisis takes it from him in exchange for some magical beans. He instructs Jack not to get the beans wet, but Jack's uncle is infuriated by the silly deal. He does not believe that the beans are magical and simply tosses them on the floor.
Useless.
No, I can
Jack picks up most of the beans, but one sneaks through a crack. That night, the princess manages to sneak out of the castle once again and comes to meet Jack. Just as they are talking, the rain causes the bean to sprout through the ground and form a giant stalk. It takes their house and the princess up into the clouds, and Jack is unable to save her. Later, Jack accompanies the soldiers of the king in a deadly mission to get the princess back from the mysterious land of the giants. If fairy tales are to be made today, this is exactly how we want them to be. This underrated gem is also worth watching for the dreadful villain General Fallon. A two-headed monstrous giant, Fallon is the leader of the man-eating giants that existed previously. He has been their commander for centuries and even guided the invasion of Albion. King Eric of Albion managed to gain control over the giants using his magical beans, but Fallon never forgot his defeat. He's determined to ruin Albion and devour the last king of Eric's bloodline. General Fallon has two heads, but they both have independent thoughts and observations. The second head is less formed and smaller than the main head, which was motion captured. There are some scary moments where you see Fallon interrogate the captured Princess Isabel, and he immediately begins making a plan to get down and attack the humans.
Try not to kick going down.
Eventually, Fallon has an intense showdown with Jack and is about to devour him when luckily Jack manages to throw a magic bean down his throat. A giant beanstalk emerges from his body, tearing him to shreds. Mrs. Dodd's Alecto. Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief, 2010. What do you do when you discover your divine heritage? This film deals with the story of a teenager named Percy Jackson, who is dyslexic and has ADHD.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
He is troubled by a horrible personal life in which an abusive stepfather makes life miserable for him. His mother mysteriously disappears after being attacked by a monster, and he realizes that he is caught in a battle between angry gods. Zeus's lightning bolt has been stolen, and Percy Jackson is thought to be the miscreant who stole it. It turns out that Jackson is actually the son of Poseidon, the sea god, and he must do his bit to prevent an all-out war between the Olympians. The narrative takes shape as he and his friends go on a cross-country adventure trying to catch the actual lightning thief who framed Percy for his crimes. They must also save Percy's mom, and the road to success won't be an easy one. Those who love the original book didn't really take to this movie adaptation, but we feel that it's still a decent effort. The film is visually terrific, and the interesting narrative will attract you right from the onset. We also remember the film for its notable antagonist, Mrs. Dodds or Alecto, one of the 3 servants of Hades. Her name literally means implacable anger, and her mannerisms do justice to her character. She is sent to nab Jackson and have him killed. She's an algebra teacher, and her hatred for Percy is clear from the beginning. Alecto had inhuman super strength, and her sharp teeth and talons could rip apart flesh. She could also fly using her wings, making this shape-shifting monster quite the handful, even for the son of Poseidon. In the film, she waits for the right opportunity and finally attacks Percy in a remote location. However, Percy swings the riptide and turns her to dust, thereby sending her spirit back to the underworld. In her transformed and monstrous form, she looks absolutely hideous. The work done here with the effects is very impressive in this regard. Basilisk, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, 2002. It's the second year for Harry and his buddies at Hogwarts. Whilst Harry eagerly awaits the end of the summer holidays, Dobby the elf pays him a visit and warns him against returning to Hogwarts because terrifying things are about to happen.
A plot to make most terrible things happen.
As expected, some unexplained things are going on at the school. Bloody writings on the walls reveal to everyone that the Chamber of Secrets has been opened. The Muggle-born students are being attacked, and it comes to the point where there is a possibility that Hogwarts might be closed. Harry and his friends try to discover the real truth behind the mysterious Chamber of Secrets before the school closes. Potterheads need no introduction to the plot, and the brilliance of the story is reflected all through the movie. We were also awed by the serpentine monster the Basilisk, who was an incredible monster in the movie. This magical beast was bred by the Dark Wizards by hatching a chicken egg under a toad. If anyone looks at this beast in the eye, they die instantly. Even an indirect look would leave the victim petrified. The trick here is to look at the monster through another object. The creature is known to have incredible powers and cannot be tamed. In fact, it earned a reputation of being a wizard killer because of its past exploits. Tom Riddle was the only one with some control over Salazar Slytherin's basilisk, but Harry was clueless about this. The gigantic snake-like monster can grow up to 50 feet long, and the large yellow eyes look like you are staring right at death. Literally. The basilisk has a long lifespan and it can live to be 900 or 1,000 years old. The only way to tackle a basilisk is to damage its eyes, which also takes away its most lethal weapon. The venom of the basilisk is a deadly toxin, and only phoenix tears can serve as an antidote. Pale Man, Pan's Labyrinth, 2006. The story takes place in 1944, in post-Civil War era Spain. The rebels are still putting up a fight against the Falangist troops. A young girl named Ophelia is fascinated by fairy tales, and she's travelling alongside her pregnant mother to meet her cruel stepfather. However, the journey introduces surprises when Ophelia meets a fairy, and learns that she is actually a princess from a faraway kingdom underground. Ophelia's father waits for her, but she must prove her royalty by completing 3 tough and dangerous missions first. It's a dark and violent world, and Ophelia tries her best to survive through the tasks. If she fails, she will never get to see her real father again. But if she succeeds, a different life awaits her. Who could forget the hideous child-eating monster in Pan's Labyrinth? Yes, we are talking about Pale Man, who looks exactly as his name suggests. His pale face and visible nostrils make him look like a manta ray, and he eats fairies and children. He sits and sleeps by his table, and this table has all the food and drinks that you can imagine. However, if a child comes along and takes a bite, the grotesque creature awakens. The Pale Man then attacks, and children who have entered his lair can barely escape. Much of the inspiration for this character came from Scandinavian and German folktales, and he was originally supposed to be a skeletal life form. This movie is one of the finest works of Guillermo del Toro, and it won 3 Oscars. The brilliant cinematography does not shy away from the brutality of war, and watching will be a magical experience for you. Morwen Outlander, 2008. A spacecraft crashes onto Earth in 709 AD during the reign of the Vikings. The pilot, Kanan, is transporting a deadly alien predator called Morwen, which manages to escape after the crash. Kanan is quick to learn the language and culture of the land using his superior technology, and both man and the monster seek revenge. He chases the monster and comes across a village that has been ransacked. However, a warrior named Wulfric thinks Kanan to be the man behind the massacre and arrests him. Soon, more villagers are found missing before turning up as mutilated corpses. The Vikings realise that Kanan is not actually behind the attacks, and they rally behind him to see the monster killed. Eventually, Kanan gathers an alliance and attacks the creature with his advanced technology, but will their effort be good enough to take the monster down? Adventures seldom get better than this, and the concept of a giant alien fighting Vikings is intriguing enough. Mysterious heroes always work wonders, and this movie is not just another run-of-the-mill sci-fi B-movie. The deadly monster, Morwen, is clearly the star of the show, and has been given an adequately scary appearance. Kanan is actually from a distant world that was destroyed by the Morwen, and throughout the narrative he tries to stop the creature from harming people on Earth. However, there is a small twist in the story of this monstrous creature. It turns out that the planet originally belonged to these creatures, and Kanan and his people slaughtered them viciously in order to take over in the first place. Only one Morwen survived, and it exacted revenge by attacking when the military was away, killing Kanan's wife and son along with many others. The tragic backstory makes you feel for the creature as well, and our mysterious hero is not as good as he seems. This deadly monster is immune to fire, and the medieval weapons do little damage to its skin. It showcases super fast moves, and its agility makes it a near invincible predator. Its sense of smell, hearing and sight are also incredible. This is not some brainless monster feature, but a movie that makes you think about who is actually in the right. Swamp Thing 1982. Wes Craven delivered classics like The Hills Have Eyes and Last House on the Left, and he leaves a mark with his work in Swamp Thing as well. The story revolves around Dr. Alec Holland, who is engrossed in his research in the swampy lands. Accidentally, he is transformed into a hideous mutant, a combination of animal and plant that he was trying to create in the first place. However, his troubles are far from over, because an evil mastermind, Arcane, is after the formula of his invention. Holland must also protect his colleague, who is in imminent danger. As Arcane tries to capture the Swamp Thing, will Dr. Alec Holland be able to stand up to his nemesis?
The only way out is through.
This is a comic book film, and the narrative has the audacity to flaunt the low-budget element in the filming process.
Shoo!
There are some thrilling action sequences, and a monster the likes of which you probably haven't seen before. This anti-hero started off as a scientist trying to develop a miraculous plant growth to end world hunger. When Anton Arcane attacks the lab, Holland takes a plunge in the swampy lake and is believed to be dead. However, we soon see a green humanoid figure attacking Arcane's henchmen. Unlike the other monsters in this list, this one fights for a good cause and clearly retains his human mind. After stopping the sinister plans of Arcane, he doesn't try to return to his original form, and rather embraces his new life as the Swamp Thing. The monster was created using costumes and makeup, and it was so exhausting for the actor inside that he had to take frequent breaks due to the heat. The sets look quite real because they actually shot some of the scenes in swampy areas. If you can excuse the cheesy bits here and there, and if you like comic versions, you will certainly enjoy the movie. There is also a sequel titled The Return of Swamp Thing, but it didn't impress as much as the original. Giant Snakes, Gods of Egypt, 2016. Let's take a plunge into the insane world of Egyptian mythology. The film begins with the god Ra splitting Egypt into two parts to be ruled by his two sons. Set, the merciless god of darkness, rules over the desert, and Osiris rules the fertile lands. Whilst Osiris is conducting the coronation of his son Horus, Set betrays his brother and kills him.
Well,
he takes the eyes of Horus, which are the source of his powers, and exiles him in the desert. A mortal comes to the help of the divine power as a thief named Bek and his wife Saya, worshippers of Horus, decide to retrieve his eyes. Horus is the only one who can end the tyranny of Set, and Bek manages to steal one of the two eyes from a well-protected pyramid. However, the theft is discovered, and although Bek manages to flee, Zaya is killed. Bek promises to help Horus get back his other eye in return for his wife to be brought back from the dead.
stay on the path.
They have plenty of obstacles in their way, and this breathtaking battle will see them travel into the afterlife and across the heavens. Will this mortal and god team pass the test with their courage and sacrifice? From the look of this film, you can tell that it was crafted with passion and enthusiasm. It's a big budget effort and it certainly looks the part. The likes of Gerard Butler and Nikolai Coster-Waldau make it worth your time with some brilliant performances, but we cannot get over the terrifying giant snakes. These were basically gigantic cobras that had the qualities of a dragon as well. They could breathe fire just like dragons and look like usual cobras with black and white scales. These giant snakes were one of the coolest things about the movie. The CGI is pretty good and the flawless effects will speak for themselves. While you are watching this film, do keep in mind that they were not trying to create a historical documentary. Clearly the mythological facts are misplaced in terms of the story, and the creative liberty can be excused.
Let me help you.
Give it a chance and we can assure you that you won't be disappointed. The Taotai Queen, The Great Wall, 2016. The movie is set in ancient China, with a group of European mercenaries riding north of the Great Wall. William Garrion and Pero Tovar manage to escape an attack by the nomadic bandits and seek shelter in a cave. However, they are soon taken captive by Commander Lin Mei, and they learn that their capture is not the worst thing to happen that day. The commander and his men are preparing for a deadly invasion by the monstrous army of an evil beast queen. The fate of the human race depends on their success, and William and Pero can help out in this mission. Can they defend the wall when hordes of monstrous creatures launch a relentless attack? Matt Damon received a lot of flack for his role in this movie, but we cannot say he disappointed. It's probably a plot that doesn't sound all that innovative, but we were blown away by the exceptional execution. This is more of a Chinese Western collaboration, with some decent CGI, costumes and creativity, and the ploy works fine. We were bowled over by one of the main antagonists, the Taotai. These are an ancient reptilian race who invaded China from some faraway planet. They are led by their queen, and these carnivorous reptiles look like ceratopsian dinosaurs. The Taotai Queen is a cunning planner and has her forces classified into defenders and soldiers. The creatures as a race are so vicious that they wouldn't hesitate to devour their own to stay strong. However, there is one striking weakness, and it's their ineffectiveness without the queen. The Taotai has attacked the Chinese once every 60 years, and a force was formed to defend the wall against their invasion. Eventually, the queen was killed by William Garrion by using an explosive arrow. Her death broke the mind of the hive, and the others froze in place. The battle sequences involving the Taotai are reason enough to watch this film.
This is all the time we had for today's episode. We hope you guys liked it. It would be awesome if you guys can take some time to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to tell us which topic you want us to cover in the comment section. Have a fantastic day ahead and stay safe.